Your empathy is not a gift. It is an open, festering wound through which you greedily absorb the psychological vomit of other people every single day. You convince yourself that you are simply tired of society. You call yourself a sensitive soul, but this heavy, viscous lead in your chest does not belong to you. You are nothing but a defenseless biological antenna, continuously downloading foreign panic, raw aggression, and toxic neuroses directly into your own bloodstream. Today, I will dissect your biological vulnerability. I will teach you the ancient art of absolute impenetrable indifference, and I will show you how to forge a neurobiological shield so that their poison consumes no one but themselves. You naively believe that you are the master of your own mind, but the moment your boss raises his voice or a relative shoots you a toxic, passive-aggressive glance, your entire consciousness instantly shatters. You pay with your physical health for the unhealed traumas of people who do not care about you at all. You have voluntarily become a flawless, walking trash receptacle for the madness of others. Step into the citadel. We are going to perform surgery on your biological Wi-Fi before you completely dissolve in their sickness. Sit down and listen. Let us strip away the romantic, poetic illusions of human connection. To understand why you are constantly exhausted by the mere presence of other people, we must cut deep into the cold, unforgiving meat of your evolutionary neurobiology. Deep inside your cerebral cortex lies a highly specialized cluster of cells. Modern science calls them mirror neurons. These are not tools of compassion. They are an ancient, brutal, mechanical survival mechanism. Millions of years ago, when our ancestors roamed the hostile, primeval jungles, individual thinking was a death sentence. If one primate saw a predator and began to panic, the mirror neurons of the entire pack instantly downloaded that exact same panic. They did not analyze the threat. They did not ask questions. They just synchronized their nervous systems and ran. Emotional contagion is what kept the tribe alive in the dirt. But you are no longer in the jungle. Let us drag this sterile science down to your miserable daily reality. You walk into your sterile, fluorescent-lit office. The temperature is regulated. You are perfectly safe from predators. But a coworker walks in, vibrating with neurotic anxiety about a meaningless corporate deadline. Or your partner returns home, radiating a silent, suffocating, passive aggression over a minor inconvenience. What happens to your brain? Your primitive mirror neurons do not know that you are in the modern world. They scan the facial micro-expressions, the elevated tone of voice, the aggressive body language, and they immediately identify it as a lethal physical threat. Your nervous system bypasses your logical mind entirely and automatically downloads their neurosis straight into your central nervous system. You absorb their cortisol. Your heart rate spikes. You feel their irrational fear as if it were your own. It is a biological Wi-Fi connection, and you have left it completely unprotected. You have left it wide open without a password. You are letting every sick, infected mind in your vicinity connect to your hardware and run their malicious software on your battery. But we must push the iron scalpel even deeper. We must look at the dark, uncompromising wisdom of the East. The masters of the Dark Zen tradition understood this neurobiological hijacking thousands of years before the first brain scan was ever invented. They understood a fundamental, terrifying truth about human nature. Absolutely everything that people say to you, everything they scream at you, every toxic insult and every unreasonable demand has absolutely nothing to do with you. It is a pure, unadulterated projection of their own broken reality. When someone insults you, they are not describing your flaws. They are broadcasting the agonizing, rotting architecture of their own internal hell. They are acting exactly like the hungry ghosts of ancient Buddhist mythology, the Preta, miserable wandering entities with bloated stomachs and needle-thin necks, forever starving, forever desperate to inflict their insatiable emptiness onto someone else. They are vomiting their unhealed psychological trauma onto the floor. And what do? Look at the monstrous arrogance of your fragile ego. You take everything personally. You literally drop to your knees on the filthy floor, gather their acidic, burning vomit with your bare hands, press it deeply into your own chest and say, "This is mine. I deserve this. I must process this." I want you to visualize the absolute visceral horror of this interaction. Every time you internalize someone else's rage, imagine a black, oily, parasitic worm crawling out of their mouth. And instead of stepping back, you open your own mouth and swallow it whole. You let their infection nest inside your stomach. You let their sickness become your identity. I am looking directly at the cracks in your armor right now. You think your hypersensitivity makes you a good person. It makes you a victim. It makes you a pathetic, porous sponge, soaking up the filthy water of a dying society. You are drowning in an ocean of other people's ghosts, simply because you are too cowardly to close the heavy iron gates of your own fortress. I know exactly what is happening to your physiology right now. I can see your jaw clenching. Your ego is violently resisting this diagnosis. You just remembered a specific comment on the internet that ruined your entire day yesterday. You remembered the condescending tone of a manager that kept you awake at 3 a.m, endlessly arguing with a phantom in your head. Your hand is reaching for the mouse right now. You want to pick away. Your ego is terrified of admitting that it has acted as a public garbage can for anonymous cowards and toxic relatives. You want to escape into a mindless algorithmic feed to numb the discomfort. Look at me. Look straight into the darkness. Leave the mouse alone. Do not look away. We are not finished. Every single time you react, every time you justify yourself, every time you scream back, every time you silently swallow the insult and let it ruin your day, you are actively completing their neurobiological circuit. You are giving the predator exactly what it is starving for. The validation that its poison is potent. The confirmation that its sick reality can successfully infect yours. You cannot change their broken reality, but you can absolutely destroy their ability to transmit it to you. We must forge your shield. We must integrate the ruthless discipline of Stoicism with the detached, dead observation of Dark Zen. You must master the neurobiological weapon known as the Grey Rot. When a toxic arrow of panic, aggression, or manipulation is fired at you, your instinct is to raise a shield and fight back. Do not fight back. Fighting implies resistance, and resistance requires massive amounts of energy. Instead, you must become the void. You must become a cold, smooth, impenetrable piece of gray mountain stone. When the aggressor screams, when they attempt to establish their biological Wi-Fi connection, your job is to give their mirror neurons absolutely zero feedback. You drain all emotion from your face. You flatten your voice into a dead, monotonous line. You become the most uninteresting, unresponsive, empty object in the room. The aggressor's brain is desperately searching for a reaction to feed on. They want your mirror neurons to fire. They want to see your pain to validate their own. But when they look at you, they hit a solid wall of nothingness. Connection error. By refusing to react, you deny them the neurobiological feedback loop. Their toxic energy has nowhere to go. It bounces off your cold stone surface and returns directly into their own nervous system. You watch them choke on their own poison. You watch their infection devour them from the inside out, while you stand there, completely untouched, unharmed, absolute. The heavy iron doors of the arsenal are closing. The flames of the forge have cooled into deep, silent embers. Feel your shoulders drop. Feel the crushing weight of the world's neurotic noise sliding off your armor. Feel the cold air entering your lungs. Tomorrow morning you are going to walk into a room completely overflowing with hysteria, manipulation, and panic, and you will remain absolutely, terrifyingly still. You will look at the frantic, screaming ghosts around you, and you will finally realize that their suffering is not your property. You have severed the connection. You are sovereign. Finish your dark, bitter tea. Let the astringent warmth ground you in the brutal reality of your newly fortified borders. But do not celebrate just yet. You have successfully learned how to defend your fortress from the demons outside. But what are you going to do with the demons that are already locked inside with you? What are you going to do about the insatiable, agonizing desires that tear you apart in the middle of the night? The obsessive cravings for success, for pleasure, for cheap dopamine that make you utterly weak and predictable. Tomorrow, we're going to take a very long walk down into the deepest, dampest basements of your dopamine system. And believe me, it is incredibly dark down there. But that is a lesson for room 3. Do not scroll. Do not seek distraction. Starve the ghost. The screen is going dark. Stand up from the table. Walk out of the shadows. Take your throne. Execute.